here in the calming, serene backyard of Jayne Rockweller. And Jayne, could you briefly describe for me what's your background or experience in agricultural science?
Okay, Joel, I grew up on a farm. My father was a farmer, and this got me interested in agriculture. And actually, mostly because my father, I wanted to be sure to help my father figure out how much money he put into his land versus how much money he got out. So in that process, I got interested in agriculture, and I went to when I graduated from high school, I went to an agricultural college and studied farm management. And an integral part of farm management was to understand agricultural science.
Okay. All right. So could you tell me what's healthy or fertile soil and what's its role in the life of a plant?
Okay, fertile soil, I would say, requires 5 things. One of them is water, minerals, air, and you need microorganisms and organic matter. That's really what it's called, organic matter, which is part of compost and mulch and all of those things. And you can see this is lush and beautiful, and I have my tomatoes and my zucchinis. And this year, I haven't had this garden. This is the first time you can see that it's really lush and beautiful. And that's because I changed the soil this year. I took out all the soil that was in this box, I threw it out, and I put in compost, and I put in topsoil, and mixed it all together. And that's why you see it's green and beautiful. And that is what brings it back to what we talked about earlier, that the soil has to have all of those 5 things that I talked about.
Plants droop when they don't have enough water. Is it possible for you to explain why this occurs? Like why they droop?
Okay, plants, as I mentioned before, plants need water. So to move nutrients from the soil into the plant, through the plant, and it does something called transpiration. That's the process of transpiration through the plant. And when they don't have enough water, then they will droop. But most of the time we make the mistake of thinking they don't have enough water when they actually do have enough water. So you don't want to rush and water your plant right away. You want to dig a little bit around the plant and see if there's moisture around it.
Why some garden plants require little sunlight while others need full sunlight?
Well, I think that's really not the question. The question should be, how come some plants are more tolerant of shade than other plants? Because all plants require sunlight. Not little, not more, but they require sunlight. And one plant can actually do well in both shade and sun. This is because when they're under shade, it's an environment. Under shade, the plant will try to figure out, okay, how can I make the best of the situation I am in? So if they're under shade, then they'll figure out how to become, they're called efficient energy users. So they become efficient in utilizing the little sun that they get to produce the food that they need, photosynthesis.
And finally, is there any aspect of gardening that really speaks to you about God's creative power?
I find when I do my gardening, it amazes me when I drop one little seed in the ground, and before long it blooms and it's lush and beautiful, and I even can eat fruit from the vegetables that I grow. And I think about how God created us and made us bloom, and not made us, we grow and we bloom. And it amazes me just how, as Christians, we need to appreciate this. Even during our own gardening, we need to look at the plants and see if the plants can do this, God can do a lot in us. He can. I mentioned about an environment. If we have the right environment, if the plants have the right environment, they grow and they bloom and you harvest fruit from them. If we have the right environment as Christians, we will grow and bloom and also become witnesses for Him in order for others to come to Him.
Thank you so very much for your expertise in terms of how we can have good soil, how the importance of water and the importance of sunlight in plant life. So there you have it, members. A resident expert in agricultural science, Jayne Rockweller.